as time is going by, because of our boldness and speaking the truth without apology, because we know that if we were to bow down to the ideologies, to bow down to the lies, we will never achieve freedom. And we're just not willing to compromise. And so that's okay if you criticize us. That's okay if you don't agree. But my hope and my prayer is that eventually you will see that the position of Action for Canada is dead on to achieving the ultimate goal of restoring and then maintaining the sovereignty of Canada. And I'm going to emphasize again that it is built on Christian biblical principles, and any other false religion and belief system needs to be crushed in Canada if we ever hope to enjoy the freedoms that we once did.
It's always my pleasure to introduce Tanya Gaw, the founder and leader of Action for Canada, but particularly so for this special edition of the Empower Hour, where she'll be providing some good news stories in her 2024 Year in Review. Tanya is on the front lines of educating Canadians about current affairs and relevant topics that affect us all. And since starting Action for Canada, she has seen many successes and achieved many wins as she and her team work to secure the future of Canada as a free and democratic nation. Tanya is an amazing freedom fighter and a woman of faith who has, for nearly a decade, been boldly and courageously standing up for truth and for the rights and freedoms of Canadians. And now, my friends, will you all please help me welcome the lovely Tanya Gaw. Hello, Tanya. We're so looking forward to tonight's show.
Hi, Heather. Yeah, me too. I feel so delighted to be able to come at the end of what seems like a very long year. Thousands of hours of work from myself and our team, just pouring into our viewers and all of the citizens of Canada looking towards and fighting for a better future to preserve our rich heritage, which is based on Christian biblical principles. But before you sign off, I just want to thank you, Heather, so much for co-hosting the show. You are just such a steady force and, an example of the team that we have that's working in the background. We can't do this. It's not a Tanya Gaw show, right? This is the Action for Canada and Power Hour, and what comes after it is the weekly news report. And in behind the scenes, every Wednesday night are our production team. There's Jenny and Anita and Dan and Kim, and of course our lovely, beloved Terenzio, who's there faithfully every Wednesday. Yep. Sounds good. So it's not just a matter of coming on tonight and just focusing on the work of Action for Canada. I want people to truly understand that we have an amazing team of people who are volunteering their time sacrificially, and not just the chapter leaders and not just those members that are getting out there and responding, as you were saying. Thank you to everybody for responding to the calls to action, writing their elected officials, going out and attending meetings. I mean, this is all what has worked towards us changing the conversation politically. And the tides are turning because of it. So I just wanted to thank your lovely self for being on here every week with me. I just really value you. And I know that our viewers are very appreciative of the time that you spend with us here every Wednesday night. So thank you, Heather.
And thank you, Tanya.
Okay. All right. So yeah, welcome. And when I was putting this Empower Hour together and thinking about what Action for Canada has done to serve Canadians in the last year. I mean, I want to say I've been at this for 9.5 years, but a lot of you only came to know about Action for Canada because of the COVID scam and being forced to lose your jobs unless you took a jab or wear masks. And Action for Canada was right there on the front line, coming up with resources and notices of liability, teaching you about your rights and educating you. And it's just been such an incredible journey, exhausting, but now that we're seeing the results of it and we see that we're winning this battle, we, all of us, the whole team can say it's been worth every bit of time that we've sacrificed to put into this. And so with that, I'll share my screen in just a moment, but I do want to emphasize, Heather had gone over that, but I really want to emphasize how appreciative we are to everybody who, in every way, whether it was through financial donations, whether it was through your time in responding to calls to actions, in volunteering in your communities, or your financial, like I say, your financial contributions or your prayers, like all of this has contributed to the success of Action for Canada. And we're just so incredibly grateful. We cannot do this work without you. And I think you're going to be, for those of you who are maybe new or have been busy through the year and haven't been able to focus so much on what Action for Canada has been doing, that this review will make you feel the way I did when I was putting it together, like, wow, it is absolutely astounding, the volume of work that we have put out, the resources that we have provided, the webinars and the services to uphold the natural family, to protect and support our youth and our children. And yeah, I'm just so grateful to be able to present tonight. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to get right at this. Oh, I've got two that are similar. I hope this is the right one. Let's just see. Yeah, we're good. Yes, it is. All right. Sorry. I have quite a number of screens up because for those of you who just watched the Empower Hour, do know that afterwards I do a weekly news update, and there are so many incredible people out there who are reporting the news, independent news, doing podcasts. But as I've said previously, Action for Canada is the only one that's actually providing actions, strategies, campaigns, and resources for Canadians to fight back against the tyranny. And so a lot of my reporting can't be done without the independent media doing their job. And it would be nice if they were to reciprocate and also report on the incredible work that Action for Canada is doing. But it seems that our censorship is even within the freedom movement. And I'm sad about that, but sometimes it's because of the stand that we take. And a lot of that has to do with those independent media supporting the Conservative Party. And my whole life, I supported the Conservative Party until they were no longer conservative. Until they started inviting policies into the party that did not stand true to traditional values. And because of us calling it out and standing the ground, I hope people understand that that's why the Conservative Party as well is changing their political position on things that they would never even speak out about, like the radical sex activists coming after our kids. You know, Pierre Poilievre would say, oh, you know what, education is provincial, so it's not really up to the federal government to, make a comment on that. But what Pierre Poilievre needs to maybe do his research on, and I think he knows, is that the current federal government, the Liberals, are actually funding these NGO groups, and they're funding SOGI 123 and the ARC Foundation. And so therefore it's become a federal matter. He's right. They should have their hands off the provincial, what's up to the provincial governments to instill. I mean, our battles are furious against all levels of government, but if everybody would stay in their own lane, it would at least help us, the boots on the ground that are fighting against this. It would make it a little more clear where the line is. So anyways, there's a lot of reasons. I'm really hoping in 2025 the censorship is going to lift. I heard a very powerful statement from President Trump today that when he's officially in office, he is going after the censorship industry. He's going to clean house to anybody that's been in intelligence, anybody that has supported the censorship cult, and he's going to fire them, have them removed, have people investigated. Well, because of that, YouTube apparently, is it called demonetizing people, is beginning to monetize people again and give them a platform. And so I don't know if Action for Canada will finally make the grade, but I don't even want to support YouTube. I wish all the YouTubers would stick with Rumble because they were faithful to us to ensure that we weren't censored and our videos weren't taken down. And I understand that there isn't as big a reach there, but I would call out to bloggers and the rest of you, that get the millions of views, that you would dump them. They're making money off you. And so why don't you just move it on over to Rumble, and we'll make Rumble, the cool kid on the block, and then Action for Canada might do a little better at this. And the other thing that I want to point out is the reason we've gotten around some of the censorship is because of what we're doing at the community level. Because of our chapters, we are able, even though we're being terribly blocked, our chapter leaders are able to speak one-on-one to people in their communities as we educate them. And we think that has been key to the strategy of war and the position that Action for Canada has taken. So if you had missed it, this is the Action for Canada 2024 Year in Review. You can find it under our weekly emails here. It will be right at the top of the list. And if you scroll down, when I was writing this up the other day, I was like, how am I going to address this? How am I going to put this in a tangible way that won't be hours and hours for people to review it? And so this is like a 6-minute read. You want to do a deeper dive, you could spend hours on this page seeing all of the good work of Action for Canada. And so I've said here that our action, that what we've done and our success has come in many areas, from pushing back against radical ideologies and radical extremism to filing court challenges and stopping 15-minute cities, while raising awareness of critical issues on our weekly Empower Hours and the news updates. And that's where your funding, and that's where the monthly support comes in. That's critical to us, because putting on a production like this costs a lot of money to run something like this for a year. So throughout the weekly news update, I will appeal to you for financial support and for your continued prayers. I know that December is the month that everybody, all these organizations and groups, I've watched it for years as they would all send out their messaging to donate, because they want to capture people's giving at the end of the year so that citizens can get a tax break. But with Action for Canada, we're a not-for-profit organization. We're not a charitable organization, so therefore we can't provide a tax break. If we've thought many times about becoming a charitable organization, but we won't qualify, and the government would have too much oversight into what we're doing, and we would be shut down, we would be harassed, and we just weren't willing to take that risk. And so we count on people's generous donations all year round. And so you know what happens at the end of the year. You know what you're thinking about as far as giving is concerned. And we'd even encourage you that if you even wanted to hold 20% back in order to donate at the end of the year, yes, you won't have a tax receipt, but you will be putting your money towards one of the strongest, most productive, most well-organized organizations in the country. And we have absolutely measurable success. And so I just want to put that little plug in your ear. Because it's a tough road, and our team are, like I said, we're not raising millions of dollars in a year. I think I mentioned we always file every year, and I believe I'd have to double check, but I think it was $390,000. Thank you to everybody. And between all of our costs, we were $1,000 short this last year. That's it, just $1,000 short. But it shows you we don't have any extra, and we've got legal actions that are commencing. We've got all kinds of work that we're doing in the background, and our team aren't paid what you would call salaries. All right. The majority of their time is spent volunteering, and we're talking up to 60 plus hours a week for a few of us on the team here. And we've got a very small core national team, and we really count on people committing their time to volunteer. And I'm hoping what this report will do tonight is encourage you that the strategy that we have is unlike anyone others. By having chapters across the nation, by being activated within the communities, this is where our success lies. And I can promise you, if we had a million people that were active with Action for Canada, we would have overturned elections already, and we would not be in the position where we are today. But it is a painful journey to get people outside of their comfort zone, to give up their comforts, to dedicate some time to protecting this nation. And so we got a small Gideon's army who are fighting hard on behalf of all of you, but we need more help. And I love what Dietrich Bonhoeffer said. It's a famous quote where it said, "Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act." And so just let that sink in. And for myself, I have always been very prayerful about the actions I've taken. I get these nudges from the Lord of issues that I need to take on. And when I go back and I look over the years strategically, whether it was, proclaiming that Canada is a Christian nation and why that's so significant, more and more Canadians are seeing today why that's so important, because no non-Christian nation has the comforts and the security of the freedoms and democracies that only Christian nations provide. And I've said, whether you're an atheist, from another religion, LGBTQ, whatever you are, you would not live in these kind of freedoms. And so we have something that we need to unite on and come together. The other controversial issue that we've gone over is the UNDRIP and the way the natives are being exploited. And so I've been really attacked from within, even from people that call themselves Christians, just out of lack of knowledge, not lack of understanding of the bigger picture of the Trojan horse that is being presented behind every group that is being victimized. And as time is going by, because of our boldness in speaking the truth without apology, because we know that if we were to bow down to the ideologies, to bow down to the lies, we will never achieve freedom. And we're just not willing to compromise. And so that's okay if you criticize us. That's okay if you don't agree. But my hope and my prayer is that eventually you will see that the position of Action for Canada is dead on to achieving the ultimate goal of restoring and then maintaining the sovereignty of Canada. And I'm going to emphasize again that it is built on Christian biblical principles, and any other false religion and belief system needs to be crushed in Canada if we ever hope to enjoy the freedoms that we once did. Okay, so as you go down the page, I have covered where we begin with the A4C chapters. I'm going to now just move into links, and I will cover much of this information. I put a couple of blurbs down below these particular links that we have and issues that we've taken on. So particularly for those who donate, where you can see the successes of where your financial contributions are going towards. Then, of course, we've covered, as I said, all of these other issues. And it's not just a matter that we are saying, here's the issue, here's the problem. Here is a page that has so much research and evidence to support what it is we're saying. We're going to give you an action. We need to undo the harms that are happening on all of these specific issues. One of them is mass immigration. We're calling and demanding a moratorium. That means a complete stop to immigration. 5 years, 10 years, whatever it takes to clean the system up. Pierre Polyev, shockingly, what did he come out about 2 weeks ago and say? Is that we need to deport, was it 4.9, 4.6, somewhere in there, 4.9 million immigrants. And that is the students, temporary workers, the fake migrants. I mean, we need to clean Canada up. We have been infiltrated from people from India. I believe we're the second largest population in the world of Indian residents. They do not align with our values, nor do the Muslims, nor do the Sikhs. That's being proven on our streets, except for prior to this invasion that we're experiencing from all these different ethnic groups, there were, people from these countries who had come. But the difference is they came 30 years ago. They had to go through rigorous vetting when they were applying legally to immigrate to Canada, and they align with our values. They've chosen to integrate and assimilate, and they, for instance, speak English in public. I went to Walmart in Langley the other day. I never go to Walmart. I've only been a couple of times recently, and I happened to go into that one. And on the one occasion, they had 10 new young people that were training, and they were all from India, Pakistan. They were all foreigners, every single one of them. There is, to the best of my knowledge, I couldn't find one white person working in the store. Now, if I was to go to India and find only white people working in India, and the Indian government or somebody, the citizens brought that up, I don't think that any of us would be pointing a finger and saying that's racist. This was a majority white nation because it was Europeans. So you go to African nations, the majority of people are Black. You go to the 56 Islamic majority, you're going to find dark colored skinned people. You go to European nations, you would find white people. And that's good. That's okay. And there's nothing racist about having this conversation. But God doesn't care about the color of our skins, but the globalists do, and the government does, and the Muslims do, because they're using all of this to attack and divide us. And I'm talking about the radical Islamists who want world domination. All right. The Chinese government cares about this because they're all over TikTok. They're the owners of Walmart. They got a lot of dollars in there with all their Chinese products. We have to always remember that, to look past that now that we could recognize a Trojan horse, say what's lying beneath, and let's call it out. Okay. I'm going to be showing you a clip on the weekly news update tonight about Jagmeet Singh, and it is shocking what that man said about white men. And this has to come to a stop. All right, so that is this section, the prayer walks for revival, our support for Israel, the calls to action, and so on and so forth down the page. So I am just going to do a quick review. I'm starting with legal action. I am so excited to tell you we're filing the notice of civil claim. I'm waiting to hear if it was filed today. Alex had submitted it. If not, I will have that absolutely 100% confirmed. The notice of civil claim is officially filed within the BC government. We're taking legal action against the BC and federal government. I will be updating this page. I always like to wait until I have the link and information so that I can provide you the new notice of civil claim, and then you can go through that. I'm hoping that in February of this year, we outed Kip Warner and Alexander Moore from Canuck Law. Kip Warner, these are individuals that smeared and attacked Action for Canada and Rocco and Vaccine Choice Canada. They affected our fundraising. They affected people's confidence in us. We have been in such a battle just to survive all of this, and these people will never be held for account. Kip Warner, for instance, we discovered was tied with his company to the World Economic Forum. So we've said is something very sinister going on in the background there to try to seriously hurt our legal action and hurt Rocco. Kip Warner's mission, he was out to get Rocco disbarred. Others have tried to file complaints as well and have made terrible libelous statements about Rocco. And I mean, I know Rocco personally, and I know that he's practically laid down his life for this country to stay in this battle while there were those who were trying to destroy him. So it's had a huge impact on us. I must say that 2 years ago, we decided we had to, regardless of what the naysayers do or our critics have said. They said we didn't need to go for an appeal, but back in 2022, Judge Ross had made some comments within the decision of the motion to strike. Yep, we could move forward with a new notice of civil claim. And he had made some statements potentially meaning that when we got to court, we wouldn't be able to use certain evidence that we felt was vital to our argument when we get to court. So February of this year, as it shows right here, we ended up in the appeal, and the 3 appeal court judges agreed, you know what? No problem here. You're going to be able to use your evidence in a court of law. But they ended up, we end up having to pay certain charges for that, because of the defendants and costs that are associated with it. But I never came public with this because of the massive smear campaign going on in the background. Meanwhile, you've got Brian Peckford and Maxime Bernier, who are going through court actions, fighting, getting through an appeal, saying, hey, we need to raise more funds. And they've got all this support. But these individuals that have attacked Action for Canada and Rocco and Ted Coons put a bad taste in people's mouths about us. And yet here we are, laying down our lives and doing everything we can to be in this fight. And Rocco's cases are actually one of the only ones in the country that are still proceeding. And so please keep that in mind. Once this is official in the new year, I'm going to be asking you, please contribute. We need a war chest within the legal actions. There's other costs that are associated with that. Every other lawyer is charging across the nation, and every other activist that's taking legal actions have had the ability to raise more funds. And yet when it comes to Action for Canada, because of the damage done by these individuals, it has been a very tough road. So again, a special thank you to all of our donors and financial supporters who believe in the work that we are doing and have continued to faithfully give. All right. The chapters are growing. This map is ever changing, because this year we lost several chapter leaders for various reasons. My heart grieves as well that we lost several who had passed away, and our prayers remain with them and their families as they come in to celebrate Christmas with the loss of these loved ones on their hearts. My dad had passed away many years ago. I was quite young, on December 7th. And we think of all of those who have lost loved ones this year. We pray for you that, that there would be comforting angels that would surround you and keep you during this time. So as far as Action for Canada is going, we have really, again, poured so much money and time into developing our resources for the chapters. There is so much that goes into this, because as we're expanding, we're not a grassroots organization anymore. It's like we are this organization that is responsible to train all of these chapter leaders and have systems that are set up, and communication systems, and a process where we have email systems where we can communicate, store important documents, and that all takes money. So, we need to be able to expand this. We need to be able to do proper training with our chapter leaders in order to keep them on and keep them steady with Action for Canada. But we can't continue to do it on a shoestring budget. So we're going to continue, as I said, to request your support. We do the Empower Hours, as I've mentioned, and the weekly news updates. Because of you, I was able to travel again this year, bringing hope into communities, helping to educate, equip, and mobilize citizens. Through that, people would get so pumped up after I gave a presentation on Action for Canada. And through it, we ended up getting quite a number of more chapter leaders who felt invigorated and said, you know what? I want to be a chapter leader. I live an hour and a half away, and I came here tonight, to meet myself and our team and hear more about Action for Canada, and it inspired them to become leaders. And so with that, we have provincial leaders that oversee those new leaders. You can see how we need this buddy system, and but we need to start making these positions and more permanent for our provincial leaders, so that our new chapter leaders have the support they need. Under the weekly emails, I'm just going to scroll through so you can see some of the guests that we've had on this year. Michelle Sterling, Alex Newman, Tom Harris, Tanner Naday, Tom Quiggin was amazing, Maxime Bernier, Majed, and so on and so forth. It has just been an amazing year and an outpouring that every time we have a guest on, we're also educating you on whatever that issue is that is critical to all Canadians and helping bringing awareness. Then we have our political LGBTQ page, which is just packed with critical information and resources that when you hear about a hurting parent who just found out that their child has come home and is now identifying as the opposite sex, you send them to this page. You send them to this particular video that exposes the indoctrination specifically that's happening in K to grade 6, kindergarten to grade 6, indoctrinating, sexualizing, and 100% grooming our children. So this page is filled with so much information. Actions that we have done this year as well include the action in Montreal, of course, Planned Parenthood and the LGBTQ are always, it was accidentally exposing children. Sorry, it's a Montreal-based company that was in New Brunswick's, my apology. So it was thirsty for the talk under the guise of health promotions, and they're exposing children to just absolutely pornographic and sexually explicit material. And Action for Canada is always on the front line with an action, pushing back and bringing awareness and pushing back against the elected officials. By doing this, more parents become aware, and then they care more about who's being elected as school board trustee, who's getting in as mayor and city councils, who are supporting drag queens and whatever else woke agenda that you can think of, and then as well with your MLA and MP. People are becoming invested because they care about their children and family and what they're being exposed to. And it's through educating the public and through these actions that we do it. We may not immediately, such in this case, with the newly appointed Senator Wells, who is completely an inappropriate candidate to have chosen because he's a radical, progressive LGBTQ activist. But what it did, and putting the action forward again, it brings public awareness. It brings pushback. The Liberals are losing for a reason because they're losers. They're woke and they are on the wrong side of history. One of the actions that happened this year that many people aren't aware of was the Dufferin Peel Catholic School Board trustees vote against flying the pride flag. And there is one of Action for Canada's former chapter leaders who ended up winning the position as a school board trustee in this district. And it was her work that ended up achieving the success. And I was in the background of this success as well. We can't always, give our strategies away and who we're working with, but just know we're having a massive impact. And again, Saskatchewan, we had the huge win. That was last year, but we're still fighting the fight there because the LGBTQ don't like losing, and they lost big because SOGI 123 is officially in BC and Alberta, and under the radar, they tried to get into Saskatchewan, and our campaign put a stop to that. And there was another great group that was getting parents going as well. But the resources, information, notice of liability that was served to the then Minister of Education, the Premier and Health Minister and others was absolutely incredible. So what we did is we took that package and then we ended up putting a bigger package together into a binder that's about this thick with evidence of the harms, affidavits from parents where harms of their children now being indoctrinated, now claiming they were born in the wrong bodies. I'm talking specific to Alberta right now, but it's happening in every province. And then these kids being fast-tracked onto hormone blockers and eventually onto having their little bodies mutilated, permanently damaging them for their life and sterilizing them. And so our team ended up putting this binder together and sending it to Premier Daniel Smith by registered mail and the Minister of Education, as well as two other ministers. And that resulted in a meeting with the Minister of Education, revealing the pornographic books, shock and awe, and towards getting this material removed. So we're going to have a really great start to 2025. I know we're going to have even bigger wins to come, but just know that we are in the background doing a lot of incredible work. And when we can reveal information that won't harm the strategy and what we're doing, we will do that. On to smart and 15-minute cities. We've got our notice of liability page. We've got so much good information on here, your mobility rights. We've had so many special guests on. If you scroll to the very bottom, that's where you would be able to see other actions that we're doing that may not be posted in the middle of this page, but that are related to the 15-minute city globalist plan. You can also see our smart cities flyer right here, which we would welcome you to print and get busy just handing them out. Go to the grocery store, go to the doctor's office, leave it with the magazines, wherever you can, plant this information. We have teams across Canada right now going door to door, printing this material and putting it in people's mailboxes to bring awareness. And then, of course, there are links on there that come back to this page so that your neighbors can not only learn more about it in their homes, they can find out more by coming to Action for Canada's page. And this is where I'm saying we have the upper hand on other organizations because they can go and report on this. But what then? People are having all of these big events. They bring the same speakers in. They all, have the same agenda. They tell people all the scary news that's going on, and then everybody goes home. And I keep saying, and, we don't get invited to these events. And they say, they're strategy events and da-da-da. And it's like, what's your strategy? Where's your resources? When you go and speak with somebody, can they go to a website and find out more about the information that you're speaking on? And so it's not to diss other I'm all for educating citizens. But wouldn't it be wise that if there's an Action for Canada chapter that is within the city that these events are taking place, that Action for Canada would be invited to the table? I ask myself why that's not happening, but I'm putting a challenge out there to the organizers of these events. We're not taking away from what anybody else is doing. Our heart is for the country and making sure that people are so well educated that they can actually do something about it, even on their own time, even if there's not a chapter in their community. Okay, so we've had a huge win this year back in the summer. Pierre Atala, I've mentioned this almost every weekly news update. If you're not listening to those, I bring in awareness. Again, this is where your money is going towards, these kind of successes, in that they were trying to sneaky put through a 15-minute city on steroids plan called the Plan 2050. And the government of Manitoba had created this group, the WMR, Winnipeg Metropolitan Region, that oversaw 18 Winnipeg districts. And they were trying to sneaky, underhandedly take control of all 18 districts, which would have made it very easy for them to implement the 15-minute city plan. One of their plans was to shut down major thoroughfares, exits, highways. And so businesses would have needed to be shut down. We know that the government hates small and medium-sized businesses, and for whatever reason, the provincial governments are willing to destroy the livelihoods of citizens, of taxpayers within their communities for their own enrichment. And trust me, the people that are on these boards, they have a lot to gain from this once you start researching it. Anyways, Pierre had hundreds of people to come to the first public hearing. And by the second public hearing, he had over 1,000 people attend. They had to shut the meeting down and postpone it because they didn't have room. And by policy, they had to have room for everybody that showed up. They knew it was a losing battle, and they never had a second public hearing because they knew they would lose, because they knew because of the public backlash. But they're now trying to sneaky implement some other plans at the local level. And again, Pierre is all over it. He's having public meetings and the strategy is happening. I just did an action forum and Kim and I got it out the other night. Again, amazing team working late at night to get this done, because sometimes the meetings come very quick. And when you start going to your mayor and city council meetings and you look at the agendas, they're boring as ever, but look at what they're passing through there right under your noses. It is shocking. It is horrifying. And unless you are going to take the time to learn the material and show up there and oppose it, it doesn't take much. We have teams organizing it. Sometimes all you need to do is show up and your body count counts. It really counts for a lot. Like when the 1,000 showed up, we were able to get that shut down. Your very freedoms rely on this. Here is Envision Durham. Terry Recker is our provincial lead as well in Ontario, as well as the chapter leader in the Durham area. And she's doing an amazing job knocking it out of the park as well, fighting in every district to expose this wicked agenda. Under urgent calls to action, this was something else that I had also covered on the page. We are covering items such as the BC election fraud. We are going to be filing and we are pursuing this. We are not stopping on this. We do believe that the NDP acted criminally, and we need more people. We need more people standing up against this. We need people in BC to pressure their MLAs, to pressure John Rustad and said, why did you roll over on this? Why did you not demand full disclosure? Like, for instance, how many ballots were there? And compared to how many voters were there? Why was there a whole ballot box that, had been held at an election office overnight? Why is there 63 out of the 97 that there were data processing anomalies, that there were problems? That's not just a small problem. That's a measurable problem that leads to election fraud. There's so many questions regarding this. This is a very important campaign because we know that this is happening in tyrannical governments across the world, but the only regions where they are winning back their nations is where those millions of citizens decided to get involved, even over matters like this. This is not a matter that we should just say, oh, well, it's too big for me. You need to get involved, and we encourage you to do that. We did a whole campaign on stopping Bill C-293. I stick with it. I do not succumb to saying that, oh my goodness, the World Health Organization is going to control Canada. No, they're not. Stop talking like that. I hate that other people that are promoting actions are doing that because it is terribly, it's a psychological warfare. And when you even give into it minutely, you've lost the war. All right. The World Health Organization, this pandemic prevention, if it is in violation of any section of the charter, it is of no force or effect. All right. You need to stand up tall. You need to learn the language. We had that writing campaign. Ours was so different than anybody else's. And anytime we have a campaign, all you got to do is just copy it, go to the email list that we've provided you, paste it in an email and take the action. Yes, there's automated systems out there, but I have heard that people, they'll see that it's an automated system and not unique emails, somehow that can generate that. And so they'll block them. And so these elected officials aren't actually receiving them. So that's why we believe it is important for people just to take the time, use your own email, and send the information. We did an action, this was in Nova Scotia, where the College of Physicians and Surgeons is trying again to pass very dictatorial policies, where forcing doctors and medical professionals to provide patients requesting MAID abortion or medical transitioning information to other doctors or whomever that they can provide those services to them. And of course, if this is in conflict with their, how shall I say, with their principles, then they should not be forced to provide this information, right? This has become a culture of death, and that's what MAID is, that's what abortion is, and we know that medical transitioning is sterilizing young children, and it is also leading to a heightened, for any of the individuals that go through this, we know that suicide is much higher than if they just work through this, through their formative years into adulthood. Anyways, we were behind this action as well. And again, bringing awareness to the public so that they know how to vote and what issues should be important to them when considering a candidate. Support the BC nurses who were terminated over the COVID-19 experimental jabs. This was another action that we took some time ago within 2024. I believe it was back in March. But the other thing that everybody needs to remember is that by filing our new notice of civil claim, we're fully on taking the bill that is prohibiting doctors and nurses from being able to reject taking the jab and not living under the tyrannical policies again of the BC College of Physicians and the dictator David Eby. And so these are there's very important issues that we have included in the new notice of civil claim, which are noteworthy and which are really, really, in the best interest in supporting all healthcare workers, including doctors and nurses, etc., psychologists, etc., in British Columbia. Okay, this was one of these actions where, there was not a lot. I'm very grateful for that. We didn't get a lot of backlash. People are waking up from when I first brought this issue up a year ago and provided the report. But this is shocking. If you haven't read up on what's going on with the propaganda regarding the new documentary Sugarcane, or what's going on with UNDRIP, and the individuals that are in office, such as this minister, what is his name? Gary, I'm sorry, I can never pronounce his last name. He is from Sri Lanka. He's the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations. He's not even native. And he's talking about white privilege. He is an enemy of the state, this guy. He should be removed. And I've said, you'll see, even please stick with, if in the description, we'll be putting the weekly news update. I highly recommend you watch it tonight, because we're going to talk again. I'm going to again emphasize no foreigners should be permitted to run for any elected position. Anyone sitting in government must be removed. It's only good common sense. And Gary is a perfect example of why that should be happening. If he's not happy here, he needs to go back to Sri Lanka. My question is, why is he here? If he's not happy here, he wants to see Canada change. Why are all these immigrants coming to Canada, getting into government, and then turning around and telling us that, we need to change to accommodate them? No way. We're calling it out. I'm not afraid of being politically incorrect, because there's no such thing as being politically incorrect when you are up against individuals that are working to destroy and undermine our freedoms and democracy. That's called treason. Okay, and I don't even care about those who have, like I said, that little mob who don't understand the situation and who choose to criticize the work that we're doing in exposing all of this, because in time, they're going to understand that it's in the natives' best interest that we stop all these foreigners from coming into Canada as well. Because if you think the natives are any match up against the Khalistani Sikhs or the Islamists with their long swords and their terrorism, you've got another thing coming. We need to unite together and overturn this wicked Trudeau government and the wicked leaders that were in there. We need to get them removed, and we need to expose all of the lies. The graves are empty. There was no 215 graves in Kamloops, but they have used it on the international level China has used it. The United Nations is using it to call Canada a genocidal nation. If the graves are empty, they're empty. I'm not saying that children weren't removed from homes, but we're finding out that the residential schools had way more benefit to so many people. And even the special interlocutor in the special report that came out decided to ignore all of the testimonies of the individuals that were so grateful to the residential schools and that took in orphans, fed them, cared for them, and loved them. The federal budget is out of control. Billions and billions of dollars in wealth transfers going to many of the chiefs. Not all the chiefs are bad, but I'm telling you, the majority are, and they're signing all these treaties in the background, which are illegal and they're against our Constitution. So yeah, I'm going to talk about that. If our Constitution is being violated, I'm not going to allow anybody perpetually to be victimized when now what's happening is individuals that never even went to residential schools are receiving massive payouts. And that's a fact. That's criminal. And that's robbing from hardworking Canadian citizens who are paying taxes. This money is coming from taxpayers. So some people will say, oh, there's really hardworking natives. And I'm like, I have no doubt about that. But are they taxpayers? And is this money coming out of their tax dollars? Are they being charged 40, 50% taxes like the rest of Canadians? And if they are, you should be as outraged as I am by what is transpiring. The missing and murdered women is not a mystery anymore. A year ago, they all came out through the government saying 86% of the homicides were at the hands of the Indigenous community themselves. So you can review this page, you can review the facts. It is all being exposed. This gig is up and it's got to stop. We need to tear up the treaties and we all need to be considered equal under the law. Radical Islam is the next section. we've been on the front line of this. I wrote a report, The Rise of Political Islam in Canada. I was called a racist, intolerant and all the rest of it. I'm like, you don't understand Islam. We're not talking about moderate Muslims. And quite frankly, if the moderate Muslim, again, this would be considered politically incorrect, but if you can't find what you need in the 56 Islamic majority countries, don't expect to come here and worship this Allah that is causing nothing but destruction, tyranny, and oppression in all of the nations that you fled. Why would we, as a Western Christian nation, allow this to be set up in Canada? These are failed foreign systems of governance. And Islam specifically is not a religion, it's a political system. So again, yes, we're going to call that out because the future and security of Canada relies on that. And it is very evident on our streets by the Palestinians, who are attacking Jewish synagogues. The police are standing there like a bunch of dummies doing nothing. The Ford government does nothing about it. The EB government does nothing about it. Daniel Smith does nothing about it. At some point, if we as Canadians don't rise up against the Islamists, we will be consumed. Join me on the weekly news update because I will show you what's going on in UK and Europe. And they are who we are looking to because they got invaded before us. This is a mass invasion of these individuals that are coming from these other countries. If you want to have a thorough vetting, go through the proper channels to immigrate into Canada. We support that, but you have to be willing to swear an oath on the Bible when you enter this country and support our principles. If not, respectfully, this isn't a good match for you. And then you need to determine what is going wrong in your nations and why you are supporting this garbage coming to Canada. Again, we're going to stand up boldly regardless of how it may fall on the ears of those who will oppose us, because those who oppose us are the radicalists who are coming from these countries and with ulterior motives. And so I don't care about what they think. I care about Canada and preserving my Christian roots for the next generations. So there's the immigration to stop petition to stop mass immigration. Okay, the Walk for Revival. I mean, it was the second annual prayer walk for the revival, the beginning of many. After this in Nova Scotia, one of the prayer walks was done around an LGBTQ NGO building, and shortly after this, they had to close. They were gone. Praise the Lord. And the year before, if you'll remember, is when our team in Kelowna did a prayer walk around the school board. And there's a very radicalized, I would say, school board superintendent who just refused to see the evidence that we provided regarding the pornographic books, regarding an EA that they have that made murder videos of chopping people up, murdering them, and then eating them and feeding them to his pig. And everybody was like, or the superintendent was like, oh, that's his creative design. You know, he's allowed to make those videos and no problem with him, you know, also being an EA at the school while he's also a drag queen. I think that there should be a standard for people, and they need to be assessed when they're around children. And that's no offense to that individual. If that's the lifestyle that they want to live, then find a career where you're working with adults who can actually articulate themselves if you're doing something that's offensive to them. All right? Political correctness out the window. We are going to expose these individuals. If the majority of the citizens are not supporting you, maybe it is time for you to look at a lifestyle change, or at least respect what we're saying, get away from the children, and keep your fetishes to yourself and get in a job with adults, okay? So that nobody's questioning what it is that you're doing. So the prayer walk for revivals, what happened at the school district is that a chunk of the building fell down. And it ends up that it was on the second floor outside of the school superintendent's building. So sorry, office. And we just see that as an act of God. So for those of you who are, Tanya, you know, I'm not a Christian, I don't believe in all of this. Well, you know what? What's it going to take? I mean, we know God exists. I believe it. Jesus Christ died on the cross to save us of our sins. Absolutely amazing being a Christian in this nation and seeing all throughout Europe and the UK and all the Western nations that celebrated Christianity. These are all the ones that the globalists are trying to destroy. Do you think that's just coincidence? I'm asking you to go, you know what? Maybe there's something to this Christianity, and maybe there is power in prayer, 100%. So anyways, great things happening across the nation in the power of prayer, and so many premiers as well waking up and taking actions on behalf of parents and supporting them. That is not just by chance, my friends. That is the Spirit of God moving in miraculous ways in our nation. Supporting Israel. The Bible says that, we are to support Israel. And so, there again came people that were going to stop donating to Action for Canada, stopped being members. They unsubscribed because, of all this anti-Semitism that even runs wild throughout Canada, even within the freedom movement. People don't understand the background and the history of Israel. They don't understand when God talks about his chosen people, but Action for Canada has taken it on. We've had Majed on, our very own Pastor Dan Vachon, to explain to people how important Israel is in the scope of the world and the apple of God's eye. So we take that very seriously. And it says when governments turn their back on Israel, God turns his back on them. Look what's happening to Canada. Because Trudeau, Freeland, these savages, they're just so wicked in their ungodliness that they have turned their back on Israel. They've openly, publicly said that. And we've declared as Action for Canada, we support Israel because we want the blessing of the Lord to continue on Canada, that God will have his hand on Canada. But we got to undo this. We got to get this radicalized government out so that we will receive the blessings of the Lord once again. So do your homework. Don't have a knee-jerk reaction about what you think the Jewish community is until you truly understand history of the Jews and how the Gentiles, that would be us, God talks about the olive branch and that the Jews represent this olive tree, and that throughout a historical period, actually several times, the Jews rebelled against God, and there was great sin in there. And so God punished them. You know, you don't get to do what's going on in Canada without being punished. And we're being punished right now. And God does it in our best interest because he wants us to repent and get right with him. And so because the Jews were doing that, that he grafted in the Gentiles as an olive branch, but we're grafted in. We don't have the same root as the Jews as favored by the Lord, but we are grafted in. And because of that, we receive salvation. There's more to it. Listen to, the actions that we've put on our page, learn more about it to understand. Again, you may be able to understand more that there's a Trojan horse. So you got to see the enemy within. Islam is an enemy of the world, and Israel is fighting on behalf of the world, of the Western free world, because the Muslims have said, it's always said, they, Saturday people first, and then the Sunday people, which meant the Jews first who celebrate on Saturday, and then the Christians on Sunday. They are coming after anybody who is not Muslim with a force. And we see that, and they haven't even, and they never will destroy Israel because of God's special hand on Israel. Okay. We're also supporting our youth. We've consistently tried to bring awareness of the harms of the jab. During COVID, we got a vaccine. I don't even want to call them vaccines, mRNA jab centers shut down in schools. It's just been a very exciting journey. We weren't able to save enough kids because parents were convinced that they needed to get the jab. But now as well, what we're doing, and I always give kudos to Vaccine Choice Canada. This is their first love and their first commitment. Ted Kuntz has been committed to calling out the childhood immunizations because his son was so terribly vaccine injured. And Ted had a lifetime journey watching a healthy baby turn into a child that he committed his life to in supporting. And if you know Ted's story, you understand his testimony was a very difficult battle. Rocco has twin boys. He as well. At 6 years old, his kids, I believe it was 6 years old, his twins got vaccinated and his one son was terribly vaccine injured. These men's hearts are in this fight. And that's why I get so angry at anybody who smears Rocco or talks about him in a disrespectful way with, their little armchair critics. And I'm like, shame on you, stop it. I don't want to hear any more about it, okay? Shame on you. And these men are fighting an incredible battle, and I just love them and respect them so much. Action for Canada, as well as constantly, we've numerous times had people on talking about the harms of the childhood immunizations. I'm talking about Sherry Tenpenny and his Dr. McCullough, and also others. So sorry, I was a little, Dr. Mackey's as well. We have talked thoroughly about the harms of the immunizations. They are directly related to the autism. They are poisoning our kids. There is no need for our kids to be immunized. 100%. Don't care if it sounds politically correct. We've been brainwashed into thinking. I regret having given this to my own children. My daughter ended up being affected. Also, I realize now as from taking the immunization, and if I could go back in time like the rest of you, I would undo that. And so for the next future generations, God gave us the perfect immunity, and we should not be putting any of this poison into our kids. All right, we're saying 911, get your kids out of school. For years, we have been, really calling out to you to say, just stop, sending your kids into the school system if at all possible. If you can't, don't feel guilty about it. I know many parents, especially the economy being so poor, that you are fighting just to keep the bills paid, a roof over your head, and food on the table. And that's why Action for Canada and our team are out there working so hard against these wicked school boards and trustees and activist teachers who have infiltrated our systems, and these premiers and education ministers who are supporting this. But if we're saying 911, get out of the school, we wanted a solution. So we've been on the front line of the homeschool revolution throughout Canada, encouraging as many people as possible to pull their children out. We've been encouraging grandparents to get involved and help. You can do more in teaching your children 2 hours when you get home from work than them being in the public school system for 6 to 7 hours, and you do not risk them getting indoctrinated or groomed and confused. That is the best defense. So figure it out, find a way. We're helping. We're asking churches to open their doors, create homeschooling pods and parents to work together to get this done until, if a possibility ever comes, that we can completely ratify and reform the education system to be one again under a godly umbrella, where we actually say the Lord's Prayer when we begin school every day and bless the children for the rest of the day and their teaching, and stick to reading, writing, and arithmetic, and putting amazing, incredible values into their little hearts and souls, so that we wouldn't have the chaos that we have right now with all of these different ethnic cultures coming in with very different systems of how they raise their children, as well as the woke culture from the globalists who want to use our children as agents of change. That's literally their term, to use our children as agents of change, which is an old Marxist agenda. And I'm telling you right now, they're being pretty successful at it. But again, Action for Canada, we've been very successful in raising the alarm, and many hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of parents have pulled their kids out of the education system. So we're very pleased about that. To support parents, we have provided parent webinars. We have the Youth Freedom Movement, educating our youth and helping them to become strong leaders. We had the Back to School action. We're going to keep pushing at this every year. I don't think enough dads and grandfathers and uncles are taking the day off, but we need you to take your kids to school. We need you to serve the SOGI notice of liability, sex ed, whichever province you're in. We need you to serve it to the teachers and the principals and say, don't you dare teach any of this woke ideology to my children. Don't talk to them about climate alarmism. And you know what? Don't talk to them about diversity, equity, inclusion, and the critical race theory that is dividing students, all this white wokeness. Don't make my child apologize for who he is as a child of God. Get this out of the schools. And we need parents showing up. We want the fathers to show up and reclaim your position in society and within the family. You are the warrior. You are the provider. So you need to be on the front line of this. We have a whole lot of mama bears across the nation, but dads, we desperately need you. I believe to my heart that God had an incredible purpose and design for you, and he's calling you up for such a day as this. Okay, the Family Life Together for Good, the marriage workshop that Action for Canada also provided. And back in March, I posted, this page just needs to be updated. I again posted my poem about I am a woman. And, sad that we're in a day where we have to say happy second annual Biological Women's Day, because all these nut jobs at the United Nations, including Biden, I mean, they're bringing trans people and providing them the Woman of the Year award. And I reject that. I rebuke it. There is two sexes. There are two genders. That's male and female. And if you took all of these radical activists and put them all on an island together and you sterilized them all, or put all the trans men on one and women, and you didn't let them interact, I'm telling you, you go there in 50 years or 60 years and there'd be zero people left. Okay, there'd be no reproduction. You need a man and a woman. That's biology. That's the perfect plan that God created it. He had the natural family in place for a reason, not the two moms or two dads. Children need the balance of a mother and father, because God has given them both very fine details that are specific to them in their biological structure and in their personalities and their strengths. Like, men are physically strong. Yes, there's some women that can go out there and they can, go to the gym every single day. They can become firefighters or police officers. I don't object to that. But don't ever undermine the strength of a man. There's been enough emasculation in these past decades, which has been part of the movement to radicalize where we live today and take control of our schools and take control of our children without men saying anything. I oppose that. I'd like to see it removed from the mainstream media. I'd like to see it removed from Hollywood, where all, those silly sitcoms, you don't understand the psychological battle we've been under, but those sitcoms where wives would undermine their wives or their husbands, and treat them like they were silly or incompetent, that's all been part of the strategy to emasculate men. And I call for a stop to that. And we're going to celebrate men and we're going to celebrate women for their beautiful, separate gifts. Amen? Amen. All right. Our precious Pastor Dan, he also wears the hat of our food security on the food Prepper Dan, who has provided incredible videos as far as how to grow produce and fruit and how to prepare it and how to can it. So much I could go on. Inside gardens that you could have in your house during the winter, etc. Because of course we know that our food supply is being interrupted with, and so we just want to 100% make sure that what was not passed on from the last generation, like my mom did preserving with us. We would go to the Okanagan in the summer, and I remember the station wagon filled with peaches and cherries and all this wonderful fruit. And then my grandma would come over and my mom and us 3 kids would all be preserving for a couple of days. And we had a wonderful cellar downstairs where we would keep all of that. But those gifts aren't being passed on to the next generation. So Pastor Dan is doing that. Prepper Dan is passing on this gift to us and to the generation that haven't received this information. Rainbow Seeds is awesome in order to put orders in for the spring to start planting their heirloom seeds. And that's not the seeds that you're going to be buying at Walmart, China Walmart, or the Home Depot. Okay, finally, I think we're coming to close here, are the business resources that we redid. We've updated the resource page because always it was about COVID-19, how to defy the tyrannical government and the health authorities that were trying to shut down the businesses. So we changed our resource package, updated to the equity, the ESG, equity, social and governance, diversity, equity, inclusion. And because businesses, this is another thing that our chapter leaders are doing, is they're going door to door to businesses and talking with business owners and warning them, do not sign up and take the government's incentives, because otherwise you're going to be obligated to not hire people based on their abilities. It's going to be based on the color of their skin, based on their pronouns, or based on if they're disabled. And so business owners are really struggling coming under this. You've seen what happened to Tim Hortons. You've seen what's happened to other companies that signed up for the DEI. I hope that Tim Hortons goes under. They have hired all Indians. Yes, our European white students who have whose families, go back many generations in Canada and were responsible for building this great nation, whose kids couldn't get a job at Tim Hortons, whose kids can't get a job at Walmart. It has to stop. And we have to be able to call this out and not support it. So we need to support business owners. If you click on this link, we're going to start up in the new year, new business webinar. We want to get in touch with business owners because we don't have enough chapters in the nation to get these materials and resources to businesses. So if you're interested in joining that team, call to at actionforcanada.com. If you are a business owner and think you could contribute something here, if you're somebody that lost your business because of the tyranny of the government and you want to give your testimony to other business owners, get in contact with us because your story is very important. You'll come to this page. If you scroll down a little bit, you will find the business letter that we are, I should have had that in the right order. You will find the business letter that we are delivering to business owners, warning them about the ESG and the government incentives, with a postcard that explains just in a nutshell about the different things like 15-minute cities, corporate equality index. All of this affects the bottom line. That's the back of the postcard, which comes to our business page when they go on that QR code, as well as a poster they can hang in there. Business, use cash, not credit, support businesses, not banks. And CBDCs are failing. This is not going to protect our information. It's only going to give the government all of the ability and control to not only control the businesses, and if they don't comply, they can shut them down. If they don't comply with climate change projections, they can shut them down, and they can definitely are going to shut down banks and personally for individuals like they did to the emo mayor. I'll be telling you about that in the weekly news update, where the emo mayor had his bank account garnished to $5,000. Shocking, right? Not really, considering the government that is ruling the day right now, but on their way out. The last in closing we've talked about is personal finances. We've brought on specialists. This is a new page, so I'll be updating it more. But great to listen to Steve Merrill, Tanner Naday. Rob Anders had also been on the show previously. I've got to upload those links and others. And so we just want to give you the most information that we can on what is threatening Canadians regarding their finances right now, how unstable cash is, the proof and evidence of that. And Steve actually owns a business where he works with precious metals, and he's giving Action for Canada the most amazing opportunity that if our members get in touch with him and buy their silver and gold from him, he gives you a 1 ounce pure silver bullet, the best price that you can find anywhere else. But with a order of $5,000 or more, he is giving a percentage and a contribution to Action for Canada. And I'm so appreciative of that. Even if you refer somebody and your neighbor or someone ends up ordering $5,000 or more, Steve will also give you a silver bullet under those circumstances as well. So help support Action for Canada by making your purchases through Steve Merrill. We really appreciate it. So in closing again, I hope that this has been very encouraging to you when you see the effect that Action for Canada is having, the success, the work that we're pumping out and putting forward, and the extent of it. Like I said, I when I was making this action, I went finally back to the first page that I started with. If you'll remember, it starts here, gives a little collage of some of the work that we're doing. But now I've just gone through the process, and within 6 minutes, you can share this with others. If you know businesses who would be willing to support Action for Canada, please reach out to them. Please say this organization is doing work unlike any other in the country, and we need your support. Our legal action is commencing. The one thing I didn't mention back in February, I've mentioned it previously, but as far as protecting our borders, we stopped the Israeli government when we had a very good conversation with them that if they permitted Palestinians to come to Canada, then it is really going to threaten our security, but as well, who would they have left as allies? And so they were very agreeable to that. And so knowing the high rate of risk, we are not supportive of war. We feel horrible for anyone that's being harmed, but there are Islamic nations surrounding Israel where these people are better suited. And when they did polls within the Islamic population, they did their own polls, and the support for the attack against Israel, for the massacre against innocent unarmed citizens, children, babies, women, etc., was somewhere in the 87% range. How can you bring those people to Canada? And the ones that Trudeau is sneaking in through back doors, because they are not coming directly from Israel, I guarantee you that. The ones that are coming in through the back doors, Trudeau is making some nefarious deals with. What the government is doing is treason, and Trudeau will pay a high price for this one day, along with Mark Miller, the Minister of Immigration. So anyways, again, thank you. so much for your support. I appreciate it. The team thanks you. We just want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And it's going to be an incredible 2025. I can see myself in a year sitting here, and I'm going to count on way bigger wins, and that we're going to take back way more ground that the enemy has stolen. And we know that we've got an election coming as well in October. And I think we're going to see some tremendous wins and achievements in the year ahead. So again, if our work at Action for Canada is important to you, if you believe in us, then please become a monthly donor. Please commit to that. I know that times are tough, so even if it's $10, but if you're a month or a $10 one-time gift, whatever it is, every single penny is put forward towards fighting this battle on behalf of every Canadian and securing it for the future generations. Anyways, thank you so much. I just want to tell you again my gratitude towards all of you for your prayers, your financial supports, your taking action when we put a call to action out, and your involvement in your community. I want to announce as well, next week will be the Christmas service, our annual Christmas service. Dan has put a lot of thought into this and his message. You will be blessed by it, and we're going to have a little bit of Christmas music. We aren't doing the Christmas sweater contest this year. Our team's a little worn out and we want to just focus on the true meaning of the season. And of course, that is the birth of Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior of the world. And it will be a message that will bless you. We always put out a Christmas message as well to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And we will be including the recording in that message after we've recorded this. So I just want you to know, in other words, what I'm saying, if you can't make it on the night of the Christmas service, we will have a recording and we will be sending it out to the masses. All right, the Bible verses for today. I kind of saw this one when I was online. I thought that's kind of cute. I feel like that sometimes. It says in Galatians 4:16, "Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth?" And when you think about that, right, like as Action for Canada has come out on the front line of some of these issues, as I've mentioned, even Christians will come back and give me a hard time because of their lack of knowledge in these areas. And so my prayer is that indeed they will wake up and they will understand that I'm not a troublemaker. I am a truth. I prevail. What is it? We prevail the truth prevailer. We are always proclaiming the truth. So I'm not a troublemaker. I'm out there proclaiming the truth. The next verse is from Hosea 4:6. And as I was just saying, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. In Proverbs, many verses say that wisdom, knowledge, patience, understanding, discernment, all of these things are better than gold and jewels and fine treasures. And you can see in this day how incredible we need knowledge in order to decipher the good from the bad and the evil. And I just thank the Lord that He has blessed me with the ability to be able to discern quickly and to have wisdom and knowledge and understanding. And it is literally because I pray for those things. And Proverbs says to pray for them. So if you're lacking wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, pray for them and the Lord will give it to you abundantly. It's an absolutely amazing gift to have. And then finally, Ephesians 5:11 says, "Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them." And Action for Canada and the team are here to expose the dirty deeds of darkness in order for the light to shine brightly and for this nation to get through this very dark time into a future that we pray will be restorative. And I'm going to be a bit real with those. We'll edit this little part out because I know some of you, those that show up on the Wednesday night, you're so faithful and I love you so much. But this is a big journey. This is a big journey and a lot of hard work for our team. And we work around the clock in order to get the results that we are. And it can be exhausting. We work through it even when we're not feeling well. And we feel like the whole world is against us. And then our team is amazing and we can reach out to one another and say, hey, I'm having a rough day. And we'll get together and we'll pray, or they will pray and our day changes. And so, just what I'm saying is the power of prayer is so amazing. And so I know that I've asked for donations and financial support, but you will truly never know how grateful we are for your prayers. Those are one of the richest blessings that we have. So for the end of the evening here, I just want to say, God bless you. And from the bottom of my heart, my prayer is that God will bless Canada. All right. Amen. Thank you.
Do you want to look great and protect your rights? Join Action for Canada with our stylish protective gear. Our slim fit women's t-shirts are like a second skin, giving you the power to tackle any challenge. Made from a super soft blend of 90% cotton and 10% polyester, it's perfect for your everyday heroes that want to tell the world that they have had enough. Our men's t-shirts are like your everyday armor. Same quality, same comfort, and designed to keep your heroic look intact. And if you need extra protection, our mid-weight hoodies are here to save the day. With a pre-shrunk blend of 60% cotton and 40% polyester, these hoodies are your trusty sidekick against the cold. Plus, the pouch pocket is perfect for storing snacks because every hero needs their fuel. Deflect negativity with our 11-ounce ceramic mugs. They're dishwasher and microwave safe and perfect for holding your favorite beverage or your morning dose of justice. Our 100% cotton canvas shopping totes with double carry handles and prints on both sides. These totes can carry your groceries and your mission to save the planet. Stay warm and stylish with our form-fitting toques. Perfect for winter adventures. Made from acrylic and polyester, they fit most sizes with an adjustable cuff, keeping your brain warm for all those brilliant ideas. And don't forget our 6-panel structured caps, designed to protect your head from too many UV rays or bad hair days. Every purchase helps support our movement to protect Canadian rights. Visit Action for Canada now and gear up for the fight, so together we can protect what matters most and help make a difference.
Tanya Gaw. That's what I've got to say. Look at this crowd. I'm going to thank God and God alone for the ground that I'm standing on. I'm going to thank our founding fathers for giving their lives and sacrificing so much for our freedom. And I'm calling on you today, don't put them to shame. Don't waste what they did. We have guaranteed rights in this country. We are putting chapters across the nation. We are going to be in every town and every city, and we are going to build communities within these communities of like-minded people who are actually going to care for one another again and love on each other and give each other the help when they're down. We are going to use the teams and the people that build within chapters to support our businesses. The government's actions are completely 100% unlawful. Judgment will again be found on justice, and those with virtuous hearts will pursue it. You have a virtuous heart if you are here today pursuing freedom and righteousness. And then verse 23 comes along with a promise. God says he will turn the sins of evil people back on them. He will destroy them for their sins. I take great comfort in that because I serve a mighty living God who has allowed us to go through this season of discomfort because we as a nation had turned our backs on him and we need to get right. So I am just going to thank you so much. I'm going to say God bless you and God bless Canada.
And every battle, big or small, together we win it all. We fight for freedom and for rights, which they turn darkness into light. In every heart we feel his so